Good morning, everyone. At least it's morning for me. It's around 8:30 a.m. and a beautiful dawning morning in Crestone, Colorado, my new home. I'm sitting here looking out the window at Crest in the Stone, where the sacred An abides, and Thoth's Hermes retreat, and a lot of other things, apparently. If one believes in that sort of thing. Oh, well, at least I do. Yes, I do. And it's quite beautiful. I'm receiving some information that is, I believe, the beginning sort of the new direction this whole area is taking in the ascension process. Perhaps I'm simplifying it by saying it's the beginning, but it's the part that I'm recognizing right now. I had stated previously, so I'll just go back and say it again, that this ascension portal here, it's the crown chakra of the ascension temple here at Crestone, and not just Crestone, but it's the point right here, that mountain that you're looking at in this picture. Crest in the Stone is the actual point of the whole activation energy thing that's going on, but of course it spreads out. It goes up as far as over the sand dunes, and it goes through a great deal of the San Luis Valley, most of it, and it can fluctuate around the rim, so to speak. And when I say that it's the crown chakra of the ascension temple, the ascension grid, that doesn't mean it's the crown chakra of the planet. As a planet, all the chakras of the planet are inside the planet. If you were standing up a person and you put the earth around them, the head, the crown, would be the North Pole, and the feet would be the South Pole, and you'd have the body inside the earth. So those are where the actual planetary chakras abide. And how that works out exactly, I don't know. I haven't ever really gone into it that much. But I just wanted to stress that according to what I receive, this area that I'm living in now, Crestone and the San Luis Valley, is the crown chakra of the ascension temple, the ascension grid, the dynamics that are going to be allowing this planet to move into its new Earth holographic field, which is more than just a vibration. It's actually a location as well, because when the time comes, the planet, as we understand it here, will, implode, explode. I don't know exactly what, but it's going to turn into tiny little dust particles and disappear. But the codes of the Golden Taya areas, those are the areas like Crestone here and other areas, not only where the chakras are, the ascension chakras are, but other areas, their codes will be lifted intact and taken into the new experience, which will be, according to what I receive, within the star sun Rigel in Orion. Now, there are a lot of star systems involved in this planet, but the one that, according to what I receive, again, the one that created this Earth and where it's going back to is Rigel in Orion. And so, back on topic, this new information has to do with the planet as the soul of the planet, Gaia, the soul of Gaia, a living being, is stirring. She is lifting, you might say, her child, her new form, that will be taken with us into the new Earth experience. It's new Earth. It's not a completely different world. That's because all of these codes are being taken with us. And Gaia herself is being taken with us. That soul self that travels with the planetary genius at the center of the planet, that will be lifted and carried through the portals into the new Earth star, into Raito, into the new planet. All of this, all of this is very difficult to explain because we're using, or I'm using, words that align to our current reality. I mean, I can't use anything else. And there are all kinds of reality shifts that are going to be going on that place us in many ways in a reality that we have senses we don't have here. So there's no way to explain those. So I try to keep it simple with what Thoth has given me in an almost mythic form. Mythic, by that I mean highly symbolic. There's up, down, we're not raising up into the sky, but I say when we lift up, when we ascend, that doesn't mean that we lift up into the sky. It means that we're moving into a new, expanded encoding of our spiritual being. So all these things, what it boils down to is that there are beings that are our kindred, which are helping us to achieve this. They aren't creating it. We are creating it. Our spiritual beings are creating the dynamics of the ascension. But they are, as our kindred, are helping us. It's like when the mother gives birth, that's her doing it. She has her contractions and it's her body that's giving birth. But they're the midwives, the doctors, whomever, standing by, helping, coaxing, there to catch the baby, And so that's what they're for. They're midwifing us, you might say. And in that process, they have set up certain energy dynamics that allow us to more easily interface with the process that is ongoing from a natural birthing standpoint. So the one that was revealed to me the other day has to do with adjusting the critical rotational positions of key points on the planet to the, what do I want to call it here? What does Thoth want to call it? It's like the core or the node of, like a lodestone that magnetizes all to one concentric effort, so that there's not a chaotic rush toward the gate, toward the door. It has to be in line. It has to be synchronous with every other part of itself. So in order to, maintain structural integrity in this whole process. Yes, I know I said the planet was going to explode, but that's at the very end. And I don't really think it's going to explode. It's going to just sort of disintegrate, whatever. But it really won't matter at that point. But the structural integrity of our planet needs to be maintained for some time yet. And as this process is going on, it wouldn't be, because the process is so powerful, if there wasn't some way to help it to move into that new arrangement without things just blowing up all over the place. Now, see, understand that what if we didn't have these beings helping us, these kindred? Well, it'd be a much rougher situation, because we will have created it to be much rougher. We've got a long way to go in regard to understanding how we create our own realities and how we determine our modus operandi in the whole process. So they're helping us out. And the reason they're doing that is because they love us. It's real simple. They love us. And we're part of them, and they have the ability to help us, and they're going to help us. Now, they can't just reach down and fix everything and give us the right president of the United States and clean up our pollution that we caused. And, they can't do all of those things because that's part of our own learning process. Think of a parent. The parent wants to help that child as much as possible. When they're teenagers, they can't do everything for them. They can't clean up their room. They can't say, "Oh, you got a parking ticket, or a traffic ticket. I'll pay for it. No problem." They have to let that child grow up and assume responsibilities and learn through the processes and deal with their own karmic cause and effects and all of these things. But they're there for them. They love them. And when they can and when they feel it's appropriate, they help them. So that's what's going on here. So what they're helping us with is a more easeful passage because we've created, well, quite frankly, such a mess of things in many ways. I don't want to put us down too much because we're divine beings, but we have messed things up quite a bit. And so our energy, the energy impact of what we're doing would be really damaging to ourselves to try to get us to the next place in the grand design. I mean, we'd get there, but it wouldn't be an easy ride. And it's still not going to be an easy ride, but it'll be much easier with their help. It is much easier. If we think we've got problems now, if they hadn't been helping us out all along, whoa. So, again, what I have received has to do with a dynamic they have set into place at the crown of the Ascension Temple, because this is the it factor right now. This is where things are really going to start happening from this point, not contained within it, but from the crown chakra. Other chakras will be highlighted more at other times. But the crown chakra has to be the one that is really pumping this energy through. And the other main chakra that's doing so is the one I just left in Kauai. Well, not Kauai, but in the whole Hawaiian Islands. Really focused most specifically on the Big Island. But it really echoes through the whole chain because that's the base. But the crown is the main one that's activating right now, and the base is kind of supporting it and allowing it to stabilize. So this particular dynamic that I see that they have put into place, I asked for a word for it because it has to do with, let me get back to what I was saying, with the soul of the planet pushing on the crown and allowing this birthing energy to move up through the crown of the Ascension matrix. That's one aspect of it. But the other aspect is that many points on the planet are having to adjust their CRPs, that's their critical rotational positions. Now, that terminology is actually used with plants. When a daisy turns his little head around to face the sun, when plants move toward the sun, they spiral around and they get their critical rotational position adjusted so that they are facing the sun so they can get all that photosynthesis going on. Well, many years ago in the 1980s, they took that term, critical rotational position, or CRPs, and placed it in regard to everything, human beings. He says that the brain adjusts, it's in CRPs on the spinal column. It moves in the cranium in these slight rotational positions all the time. Our brains are seeking out the highest frequencies, not toward the sun, but the sun is certainly involved. but these frequencies that it needs to operate properly through the whole cosmic spectrum. It's seeking them out, adjusting, moving. Otherwise, we'd be kind of like robots. But we're seeking these things out, and we're expanding our dimensions by doing that. We have greater appreciation for nature, for life, for our families, for Earth, because our critical rotation positions are constantly changing to seek out these points. This is true of course, plants, as I said, but it's true of rocks. It's true of everything. There are critical rotational positions going on. Now, the rocks may not be moving across the ground in doing so, but in their chemical makeup, there's motion. And that motion is moving in critical rotational positions by tiny little increments. Very little. But it's important. Little is not small. And so all of this is going on. So critical rotational positions on the planet are in constant motion and necessary, totally necessary for us as a whole living system, ecosystem, human system, etc. So this device, I'm calling it device, it's an energy thing. It's not like made of nuts and bolts, but it's a device that is the core of it, the center of it, is placed right where the Manasari is on the sacred on that is within the crest in the stone. The Manasari, if you'll remember, is that sphere of light that's coming out of the ark, the sacred on, and it's moving and pulsing like a heart, or maybe a third eye, maybe both, and it's really kind of almost like a third eye. And so that is the center point of this device. And the energy device, the name that was given to me by Thoth, I said, we have to call it something. So, let's give me a name. And he gave me the name Heliotrope. Well, now, I'd heard of that, but I had no idea what it was. Believe me, I didn't. I looked it up, and first it said it was a flower. And I thought, oh, okay. And then I read a little more, and it said it has to do with how plants move to face the sun. Well, that's critical rotational positions. Perfect. Yes. Ding, ding, ding. So that's it. So the name of this, he's named it, is this heliotrope. And gave you a second part to that name. What did he call it? To define which kind of a heliotrope it is. I can't remember it right now. Anyway, it's a heliotrope. And so it has, now I did some art on it, some artwork, just simple stuff to try to give you an idea. So we're talking simple here, okay? I just wanted to put together something. So let's say that the center of this, the yellow gold part, is where the Manasari is, in other words, the sacred on, okay? We're looking at it down from above. I saw 4 concentric lines, circles, going around, or fields, 4 concentric fields. And then there was an energy loop spiraling around that looked to me something like this. You see these like elongated eyes with the blue and the red, around it. Now these little fine lines are energy threads that are moving out, in and out, constantly changing. And so I'm trying to show as best I can here. Okay, so now you see that those eyes, that circle of energy around it has done something else. It's changed. It's spread out. It's touching into the Manasari and it's moving in another direction. You can see all these different things that it does. These are just examples, and sometimes it can get very intense, and the movement spirals down. And what it's doing here is almost creating not a black hole, Thoth would call it a blue hole, slightly different dynamics, threading through the Manasari here, almost creating an intense portal field right in the center. And then sometimes it rays back out of that intense portal field, and it's moving back out. And here we have, something. I exactly. But you can see it's moving in another direction. And here, it's consolidating and it's becoming a sphere into itself. Now, each one of these actions, we're back to the beginning, but each one of these actions has huge light mathematical footprints with it, far beyond anything I could talk about, write about, even think about. But that's what's going on here. And so I'm just moving through it. These were just little snapshots of what I was getting, to give you an idea. Now, if I had some hugely expensive software, complicated, that took me a year to learn and then I could barely use it, well, maybe I could kind of give you a better idea. But this is the best I can do under the circumstances. And it just gives you an idea of the motions that are going on with this. Now, I don't think a lot of these more intense motions have happened yet, but they're going to very soon. And what is this going to cause? Well, all this is involved in first locating the main nodes, and then shifting their critical rotational positions. And it's not a static shift. It's not like zoom. Okay, it's been shifted. It's giving them new sequences of shifting. So, for instance, one of these locations, one of the main locations, would be in the Himalayas. So the signals would come down through here. It would give codes maybe to several different places in the Himalayas. I call them the Himalayans, but I probably got that wrong. So I'm trying to get it right by saying the Himalayas. But anyway, that would be one location where there might be several points. They're giving them new codes, new patterns to do this critical rotational positioning thing. And as these patterns shift in here, those nodes are getting this field as well. See, this is not contained. This is not contained to Crestone, Colorado, or to the San Luis Valley. This is where it's originating. It's going out through the entire planet from here. And it's reaching all these points. And you can see this big sphere here would probably be the whole containment field for all the points on the planet that we're talking about. So the whole Earth would be contained in something of this size. And so, let's see what else we're going to say here. So yesterday, Bill and Edie and I, William Bueller, Edie Cooper, and me, we went on a little expedition that was encouraged by Thoth to a location I saw in my mind's eye that I had not been to specifically before. If I had, it would have been 17, 18, 19 years ago, so I wouldn't have remembered it. But I knew it was close to the ziggurat. And here you can see in this photograph that I took yesterday, there is the ziggurat. Now, the ziggurat stands on a point that is major for the whole dynamic of the Ascension Temple, probably next to, well, there's at least 4 points I've identified that are major. One, of course, is Creston Stone Mountain. It's got all kinds of things in it, which is really Challenger Peak, but both dubs it Creston Stone. The other is this point here that the ziggurat is standing on and indeed amplifying with its presence. Another, let's see if I can get this up over here. Just a moment, let me find the button. Is this that I just discovered. Obviously, it's been there forever, and I probably saw it a million times when I lived there before, but I don't remember it. However, this little mound here in the center of the mountains, in almost the valley between, this is central to something, and I don't know exactly what yet. But when I saw it yesterday, driving home back from our trip, Thoth was like, ding, 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 take a picture of this. You're going to want to know about it. So here it is. And it's some kind of a reflector, or it's like it channeled things into different directions. It comes like coming out of the Blue Fire Meridian, out of the crest of the Stone Mountain, and somehow it threads the needle and does something fancy. I don't know what yet, but it reconciles energies. That's the word I'm getting right now. So that's another point. But back, whoops, that's the deer. Let me get back over here. I'm trying to find, that's my house with a deer in front of it. Isn't that sweet? So if we go back over here, so Thoth asked me, and of course with the help of Edie and Bill, because I don't have a car and I'm not driving right now, to go out to find a location that was close to the ziggurat, fairly close, just about this way. I mean, when I saw it in my mind's eye, it really looked like this. So when we found this spot, I said, I think this is it. And we drove around a little more, but no, this was it. And so the interesting thing is, it's on a little dirt cul-de-sac. There's nothing there, just nothing. So that means it's unlikely to be disturbed, because what Thoth wants us to do is to put some very simple rocks circle around. When I say simple, I'm talking simple, small rocks, and bury a crystal in the center. I'm not sure what crystal we get, but I got a zillion of them, so I'm sure we can come up with one. And this is going to be a relay station, sort of like, that we can work with, primarily Bill's synergy group, to work with these critical rotational position energy fields. I don't know exactly what that work's going to be or how it's going to develop. That's really up to Bill and his group and what they're receiving, and a little input from my Thothic energies. But the point is that it needs to be created by us, human beings, intentionally, that abide there, that live there, and have that as a reference point. Then we don't have to go out and stand in the field. I mean, maybe on occasion, but it's there for us to tap into, because there's so much going on in this small area, relatively small. If you take the whole San Luis Valley, that's 72 miles across. And that's still small, as far as planetary grids and stuff are concerned. But in the Crestone Baca area, it's even more intensified. And so something like this kind of smooths it out, gives us a referencing point where we can receive and work with certain energies that we have created as an intentional point of focus. And obviously it's along very specific ley lines, hinging into the ziggurat mound, the blue fire meridian running off of Creston Stone, and that little nub that you saw there in the picture. Oh, and the other one, let me see, I keep going back in the wrong direction. Where do I have that other one? I don't have it in this picture, but I have shown it. It's Thoth calls it the Dragon's Tooth, and it's not on Creston Stone. It's a little further. It's on another little mountain peak, very, very close to it. Very close. Practically looks like it's on it, but it's not quite. So, and the Dragon's Tooth takes things right down into the center of the earth and back. It's a communication with the inner earth, you might say. Let me see if I can. Uh-oh, did I let that go? Just a moment. Okay, I believe this is a picture of the Dragon's Tooth, that big, jaggy top part of the rock there. And it's basically right next to Creston the Stone part. So that's what I'm referring to, that tunes directly into the center of the earth from this location. So I think I'm going to conclude this video. Probably have some follow-ups, most likely. Trying to keep my videos a little shorter for everyone's sake, but also the upload time here is much slower than it was in Kauai. So it's taking me longer to upload my videos. So anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll see where this all leads. I can't say aloha anymore. Well, I could, but I'm just going to say rainbow blessings. That sounded good. Bye-bye.